There's
A
a
little bit of
reason.
gray in there. That's why I don't grow one. Mine's all.
There's a reason the firefighters don't have beards. Just saying.
Yeah.
Are you going to enlighten us that, Rick, or is he going to tell us the real? That's because they have to wear face masks.
No, it's true. Yeah, they
Yeah.
literally.
I
Can't
thought maybe
have
there was
beards.
some other story.
No,
Trying
that's
to
why
lead
they're
us
the mustache
astray.
people. I don't know why porn stars use it, but that's why firefighters only have the mustache. And I would guess like master scuba divers, same thing. Probably not big on beards. Oh my God, Jim!
Out, Rick.
Look at Jim Russell.
Hello.
It's like a scene out of like Lord of the Rings.
Hey, it's my COVID look.
I hope it's post-COVID.
Yeah, well, I've avoided it, thank goodness. But this is sort of my look in the 60s, although it was brown, not gray.
Oh, wait, were you in the courtrooms by then?
No,
Oh,
I didn't go to law school till 1970. So,
okay.
but no, this is, my flowing locks.
No, it's nice in the wind.
Yeah, it is actually. But sometimes when it blows too much, I end up looking like a shaggy dog that all hangs down and I can't see anything.
Yeah, I got that same problem.
Who is
Yeah, you gotta get one of those man buns, Jim.
one of those what?
Man buns.
Oh,
Yeah, that'd look good on me, I think.
Actually, my daughter asked me about that, and I said absolutely, positively not. No, no man buns, no earrings, no
Yeah.
piercings, nothing.
Nelson, you're like freaking me out right now, man. You're looking right through me.
He looks like Darth Vader or something.
He looks like a monk.
And he's not talking to us either.
No, I think he would be like, I don't know. Who's Mark? One of the lesser Sith Lords. Just
No,
slightly
well, I watched
slightly below Darth Vader. That's already been taken.
No, I was watching the first Star Wars the other night, number 4. And when Obi-Wan Kenobi was walking through that town where the bar was, he had a hood like that over him, so you couldn't really see him. And then one of the bad guys also did. So anyway. Oops, what happened? Zoom meeting. So
Before we had any actual things to vote on, like since we have one now, I didn't do it, but I was seriously thinking about putting forward a motion that anyone named Jim had to wear what Joe's wearing to any event.
Right. I'm down with that.
So stop and think about that. Anyone named Jim.
I've got a hat.
Did you buy your tank?
No, I don't wear tanks.
Bramley, Russell.
Watch the video in the chat and you're welcome. Speaking of A New Hope.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Fitness offers. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Oh, go click through the ads.
What?
Just click through the ads. And then
The S?
Ads.
No, just advertisements.
Spoiler, what if I hadn't seen that, Mark?
What?
Star Wars, what if I hadn't seen that?
Then
You're
you should,
old.
only
You're
person
old. You're
in
probably in
America
line.
that's seen it.
you should take a
What's
drive in your garage, Rick.
No, that was my whole childhood.
So Rick, when are we going to go backcountry skiing?
Oh man, well, I actually have a couple times already, but I don't know. What's the snow like? I haven't paid attention to avalanches or anything this year.
Well, there hasn't really been new snow since for a while. I was up there last weekend and there wasn't much to begin with.
Yeah,
I
it
was in the
wasn't-
Winter Park area yesterday, and there wasn't much snow at all. I don't know what it was on the slopes, but
We're gonna get
around
whacked
town, it was
this
next to nothing.
weekend.
Who sent us the thing about money? Was that Dan?
Yes.
Was.
I'm trying to find it. Because I read it, now I don't see it.
What's everybody thinks going on at Chris Huff's right now? Where'd he go?
Oh, I was gonna say his dad's on the line. I'm not gonna say it.
Just I don't know. Just letting my mind wander. Like what's going on behind that black screen right now?
Trying to find a really good picture, so find wander elsewhere.
It's in the chat, Jim.
He just doesn't want to come on camera because Chris has got one of those Freddie Mercury.
Oh, there it is. Thanks. Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
I just found it.
Want to give another minute? We'll get started.
You're the boss.
Probably just 18 or so of us here, it looks like, right? 19?
Oh, there he is.
29.
He could be a firefighter.
Hey, Cameron, are you graduating this year?
I am, yes.
I thought college was canceled.
We're all online, but might as well be.
Well, you know, my senior year, one of my trade brothers came to me and said, Russ, this vacation from life is about to end. So, what are you going to do?
Grad school.
Not grad school. I've been working for the Colorado Department of Transportation for a couple summers, and they've offered me another internship. So I'll be doing that through June, and then hopefully that'll lead to something full time.
In Colorado?
Yep.
Well, what are they looking for, bus drivers or something?
We'll be driving a bus. I'll be doing some mapping and looking at their parcels where they own things and lease things and things like that.
Okay. By the way, are you guys going to reveal which ETF you invested in that went up 32%?
Oh, that's up to Gilligan.
It's a Colombian export-import company.
Right.
Sure.
It probably went down after Maradona died.
Yeah. And how many friends do you still have in the federal
It's
prosecution ring, Jim?
Argentina.
I've got a few.
No, it was Argentina.
No,
That's
we're
why
not
it's
going to say a word about
import-export.
it. Nothing to be said then.
So Steve Gore is not on, and Karen Fong Donahue Fong is not on. They both gave proxies to Mark Nelson. Correct, Mark? Steve may join us, so Steve joins us. I guess he'll take his proxy back.
Nope, he doesn't get it.
No? All right. Does anyone else? Emily's joining us. Does anyone else did anyone else get nominated as a proxy for someone else?
Yeah,
Someone
Dan
sent
did.
someone that Dan did. Dan got someone's, right?
Correct, yeah. I just forgot the name of who it was, but I have it in the email here.
Okay. Okay, so with that, that gives us a total of 24.
That's Alex Fleming gave his to Dan.
Okay, good.
Bill, is Lucy on or is it just you?
Hey, Emily, who's your squeeze there?
I think it's
Right
his
behind
friend.
you.
Yeah, I've got Lucy with me here.
What am I supposed to do?
Dale, do you have Angela with you?
Sure do.
Okay, so that's two
That's
there.
30. So that's 30 then.
Okay. I think that's enough, isn't it, Paul?
That I believe is enough. Yes.
Okay. Why don't we get started? Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the AGM. Sorry we're not doing it in person. Obviously, everyone knows why. So we'll start with a couple quick updates on the national level. So I'm sorry, Paul, did you want to?
Go ahead, take it.
Okay.
We're on to this right here. So
Okay.
I'm behind.
So before that, I wanted to, and Jim was on the call Sunday, and I didn't make it, Jim. But so USA Rugby has approved the terms of reference for the referee and loss committee. The terms of reference, again, is the organizational document for the referee group, and it lays out what our responsibilities are and how we're organized in the subcommittees, committee itself, and so forth. So they did finally approve that. So over the next 4 weeks or so, the R&L committee will be populated. A chairman will be nominated. Communications manager will be nominated, and vice chair will be nominated. We, in conjunction with Mid-America and Utah, will also be selecting a member of the R&L committee. From the referee group, there will be 9 representatives, 8 from the geographic regions, and then 1 from at large. There will be international athletes on there as well as a representative from the USA Rugby Board, and then finally 1 representative from each of the 3 councils, the club council, the collegiate council, and the youth council. So we got just about everything we wanted on the terms of reference. So the next stage is to populate everything. If there is interest on behalf of anyone in Rocky Mountain Rugby who would like to participate on the R&L or any of the 5 subcommittees associated with the R&L, we'd ask that you submit your name to the executive committee, what positions you may want to be considered for. If you want to be considered for the R&L committee itself, we also ask that you provide a couple paragraphs on why and what you believe your contribution could be to the R&L committee. So the way it's set up is the 3 chairmen of the 3 geographical unions, us, Mid-America, and Utah, will get together and they'll decide on who that representative will be for the R&L. So that's the latest on that. Good news on that. So at least we have a structure at the national level going forward, and we can get to work. The work that's been done by the subcommittees, I know many people on this call are on various subcommittees, have really been kind of work that's been done in preparation. And so we can kickstart this process when the R&L is finally seated and moving forward. So I do not have any update on the return to play yet, nor, so I can't tell you what the current thoughts are on that. We do have some folks on the phone that are involved with different organizations, and so for example, Jim, would you mind give us an update on the youth and what they may be thinking?
I really can't do that. I was supposed to meet with Tom Wren a couple times this weekend, and we just couldn't pull it off. As you know, Angus is gone. or he's on his way to California. And I don't know what the state of the play is. I'm hoping I can give you more next time.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any updates on the state of play?
MLR released her schedule next week, tomorrow.
Okay.
And
Not that that matters for us.
Eric Geib sent out an email, president of Rocky Mountain Rugby, saying he didn't think there'd be competitive play until next fall.
I can give a little update on some high school drama, if you're interested.
Sure.
So, with the restructuring of USA Rugby to the councils, there was a group of high school teams in Colorado that have formed their own administrative organization outside of Rugby Colorado that is focused specifically on school-based programs called the Colorado Interscholastic Rugby Association. And so they will be organizing and competing, as I said, outside of Rugby Colorado. Rugby Colorado will still exist and have a number of teams in it, and there will, basically be two administrative groups for high school age rugby in Colorado for the upcoming seasons, whatever those seasons may be.
And what is, if I can ask, what is East going to do?
East is going to stay with Rugby Colorado.
Okay. Is the new organization
The other group.
affiliated with USA Rugby?
Yep, it is. So, USA Rugby has their 4 councils. One of those councils is the Youth and High School Council. And the Youth and High School Council will recognize both Rugby Colorado and this new interscholastic rugby organization.
And so the players and teams will be registered with USA Rugby then?
Yep, exactly. They will be registered with USA Rugby.
Okay, all right.
If I could add something to that, Mark, please.
Sure.
I've got a couple of calls into USA Rugby. Tom Wren got a letter back from the youth and high school group saying they would acknowledge no one other than Rugby Colorado. We then heard that, in fact, Chris Hansen and 4 other teams that he's working with had been recognized. I gave David Poole a call, who is the current president of youth and high school. I got the idea from him very clearly that a decision had not been made. Sent him a written proposal, and I've asked him twice that he hasn't quite gotten to it, but hopes to soon. I'm sure that any of this is nailed down right now. I think it is likely that these 4 teams will be permitted to play in some fashion, and whether that'll be under Rugby Colorado or independently, I think the jury's still out.
Okay. Okay, and the reason I asked for the affiliation with USA Rugby, because it really leads into the next item. In that NCR, which is the former NSCRO, so National Collegiate Rugby, is a separate organization and is no longer affiliated with USA Rugby. So, so it's the former NSCRO folks. So those players and those teams do not have to be registered with USA Rugby. They may decide to, but they do not have to. USA Rugby has informed all the LROs and members of the governance committee of the temporary governance committee of the RNL that they will not recognize any NCR games unless those teams and those players also co-register with USA Rugby. they've also informed all the LROs that they are going to, or they will have the option to sanction any referees or LROs that participate as a referee in an NCR game or an NCR game against a USA Rugby team. And that they reserve the right to sanction any organization that assigns referees to a non-sanctioned, a non-USAR game. So it's not just NCR, you know, I know in other states, I've been talking to counterparts, you know, there's some quasi-official organizations in other states. Theoretically, this applies to alumni games, old boys that may not be registered. So if a team or their players are not registered with USA Rugby says that USA affiliated organizations cannot support that and cannot supply referees. So does that mean that USA Rugby is going to sanction right away a referee or an organization? We don't think so. We do believe that if NCR and USA Rugby do not make up and figure this out, that USA Rugby at some point is going to make an example of someone and some organization. And so I just wanted to alert everyone that if you are doing an unsanctioned game involving teams or players that are not part of USA Rugby, you could be subject to sanction. Now, what does that mean? That means that USA Rugby can tell you that you can't do any more USA Rugby games. So they can't tell you not to do NCR games, but they can uncertify you as a USA Rugby referee, which would then uncertify you as a referee affiliated with World Rugby. So they're also telling NCR and any unaffiliated organizations that you got to come up with your own laws, because World Rugby only recognizes USA Rugby. And you got to come up with your own referee training. You got to come up with your own disciplinary system. You cannot use the materials and the processes set aside for World Rugby or USA Rugby in your administration of your league or of your team for that matter. So, Jim, did you want to add anything to that?
The only thing, well, it's apparent that USA and NCR, USAR and NCR, you know, don't like each other, don't trust each other. They each say that they want the other to, they want to work with the other, but each of them are pretty dug in for a variety of different reasons. So, and I think the governance group, or at least John Clavin, who's running the whole revision, has told the groups that this could cause a split in the refs and they may end up with nothing, or it could be, you know, that we don't like the fact that they're using the refs kind of as a leverage against the others. But it doesn't look like this is something that people can sit down over a beer and resolve, you know, in the course of an hour. So who knows what's going to happen. The good news is nothing's going to happen in rugby for months. The bad news is that means there's no impetus to resolve it. So that's it.
Okay. The other thing this means is that the NCR teams in our area, and I think there's 4, are no longer affiliated with Rocky Mountain Rugby, right? Because Rocky Mountain Rugby is affiliated of the US. So, so we don't know how administratively that's going to work. We do know that NCR does have insurance for referees. At least they tell us they do, and some folks are reported to have seen it. But USA Rugby says their insurance does not apply if you do an NCR game or if you do a game involving an NCR team or any team that's unsanctioned. So that means the alumni game too. That we can't do an alumni game without insurance, and that the Rocky Mountain rugby referees are subject to sanction if we assign referees to unsanctioned games. So more to come on this. It's got to get solved. The referee organization at the national level has basically said, we're not taking sides on this. You guys got to figure it out, or you're both going to suffer from lack of referees, because there's not enough referees around to have two separate organizations. And referees got to be able to do NCR games and USAR games in the same weekend. So I know other areas have more acute problems than we do as far as access to referees. But so in the meantime, we're telling them they got to get along. They got to figure it out.
So,
hey, Mark,
if I may,
I
please.
have a question. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Steve. Where does this leave us with our CIPP registration, Mark? With the no return to play, maybe not till autumn, I just heard.
Yeah, so the system supposedly is up and working. I know some people have had success with it. I did not. I got in a do loop with it when I tried to register just to see if it could be done. So at this point, I'll leave it up to the new executive committee. What do they want to recommend? The old recommendation was there's no need to register until we get close to doing games, unless you wanted to make an early contribution to USA Rugby. So it's kind of a personal decision at this point. So, Paul, did you want to add anything, or Mark, or?
I didn't to that, unless someone else does. And then Steve, do you have a question still?
Yeah, question, observation. You know, if USA Rugby is saying what referees cannot do, we can only do games for USA Rugby. I wonder if that changes the relationship where we would be considered employees of USA Rugby.
Yeah, we had that discussion. USA Rugby is, yeah, so we had that discussion, Steve, and USA Rugby is not telling you that you cannot do NCR games.
There's just
USA Rugby is saying that if you do an NCR game, you're subject to sanction, and they may choose not to allow you to do USA Rugby games.
Okay, that's a bad faith argument through and through.
Well, you know,
Jim, you're the lawyer. Why aren't you weighing in on that? That's not a choice. You can do it, but if you do, we're going to drop you from the high level stuff. That's 100% violating whatever it is for your.
No, Dan, they won't drop you from the high level stuff. They'll take away your level 1, 2, and 3 in CMO accreditation for World Rugby.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't
Which
go.
is the equivalent.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as a sanction. It's a really important question that Steve just asked there, because it gets to the heart, and you're seeing this. I mean, you just saw it go into law in California about Uber drivers and are an independent contractor. If they take away your ability to decide when you do and don't work, you're no longer a 1099 employee, you're a W-2 employee. And with the size that we would sprawl to, I mean, somebody needs to throw that across their bow and shut their mouths.
Yeah, we did. And the consensus is, as an employer, you can choose, or as a company, you can choose to hire whatever contractors you want. So you can cease using a contractor at any time you want to, based on your agreement with the contractor. We have no contracts. All right, so USA Rugby has the right to say, we're no longer going to use your services. So they can't tell you where to work, right? Because we're contractors, but they can tell you that, you know, they can withdraw their desire to use your services. So whether it's right or not, that's their view, that they have every right to do that. So USA Rugby is also reaching out to individual NCR teams and their college administrations to let them know that they're not sanctioned by the national governing body. I know that there have been some NCR teams that have also co-registered with USA Rugby, so they can have access. So their team is considered USA Rugby. So, so that's the way it is, guys. You know, more to come on this. It's got to get solved. You know, so otherwise, it's putting everyone in a bind.
Yep.
So, and we as an organization then have to verify that both teams are registered. Otherwise, we can't assign referees. It's going to be a mess. So, and it's egos that's driving it at this point. I mean, there's some money involved. Don't get me wrong, but it's just egos. Jim, did you want to opine from a legal perspective? I just shared the arguments that we used and try to get by them.
I was just about to send an email or a chat to Dan about it. USA Rugby is relying on one particular provision of World Rugby Regulation 16 to say that, you know, they can sanction and suspend people. I don't read that regulation as applying in this particular case, nor do I read it as allowing a national union to sanction subdivisions of it. And I have to do I got to do a statement to that effect to the governance committee in RNL. But I kind of agree with you, Dan. I mean, USA is sort of running around doing things because they say they can, and I don't know if they can or not. So.
And it's not right. We all agree it's not right.
Yeah.
So.
And I think everyone should note that this is the first time that Jim Russell has agreed with me in a public setting. So mark the date down, everyone. It probably won't happen again in our lifetimes.
I didn't hear.
Oh, did I misspeak? I'm sorry. Danny, I love you anyway.
Call's recorded, so it'll be up on YouTube forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Any more questions on that, guys, or comments?
That for you, Mark, from the chairman update? You all good there? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So
the operations update, you all received an email earlier from Dan with the financial update. It's also pasted in the chat. Does anyone have any questions for Dan about that? Besides who the fund in South America is?
Yeah. No, I'm happy to disclose the name of the fund with the caveat that, of course, this is not investment advice. You should not be taking investment advice from a bald-headed employee of an IT, operations firm, and that past performance is no guarantee of future results. And with all of that said, it's the Charles Schwab U.S. Dividend Fund, trades under SCHD, like David.
And Dan brought to the investment committee, the prospect of investing some of our funds that we're getting no interest on as an alternative. And after discussion, we agreed to authorize Dan to make that investment. So it turns out to be a good idea. So
I just have one question or comment. Forgetting the the investment, which I think is a great idea since it worked. But why are we continually running a loss? I mean, it's not much. I mean, as the email that's on the chat says, net loss was 1570, which is what, 300 more than last year. But you know, if we're losing money, then something needs to change.
Well, even if we'd raised rates, we wouldn't have made money this year. I mean, there was no rugby except for 1 month, 2.5 weeks worth. So that's probably the biggest thing. That's because we do have overhead. I mean, Zoom costs us a certain amount each year. DocuSign, where we keep all of the independent contractor and code of conduct, that remains. It's that's an ongoing expense for us. And while it's not a whole lot, I mean, we're spending $100 a month basically for overhead items, and part of that's the accounting system, which is QuickBooks. Zoom, DocuSign. Can't remember what. There's one other recurring expense that goes into that, and then there's just other administrative costs when it comes to doing some of the tax filings. Ultimately, going into 2021, the fact that Steve was able to innovate with RepUp and bring that to the forefront really, it really tightens up a lot of the things that we're doing. It's almost a pure margin business right now, where we set the markup against services and then we worry about the tournaments. And the tournaments for years past has actually been what's carried everything. We have, we have not really increased the price, and we have increased the payout to referees. So our revenue inbound from clubs has remained the same. The payout to referees has gone up, which has compressed the margin on that. Ultimately, there's been a decision made by the referees society, the executive committee. And Jim, if you don't like this, you're welcome to propose something. It wouldn't be for this AGM, but you can call a special election in February if you want. That ultimately we feel that it's okay to be doing the slow burn down. I mean, even with the slow burn down, we made money this year. I mean, we increased the balance sheet this year. So it's kind of a, let's not raise rates if we don't have to. We don't have clear direction.
Hey, Dan, just to correct you on the rates, we did negotiate rate increases with Rugby Colorado and with Rocky Mountain Rugby this year. However, we got no benefit from it because we didn't do all but a couple of weeks worth of game. So we did raise rates, Jim, with the intention of closing that gap.
Okay. I mean, I'm not being critical.
And even there, it's like the last comment I was going to make about that is we don't have real clear direction on where to use the reserves. Obviously, we need to make sure that we can carry a year or two in turnover, because COVID, pandemic, look what happened. And it's good that we're in financial standing to be able to handle that. But if folks have ideas, we've kicked some stuff around from the EC, but we'd really love to hear what the constituency says. Where should we be deploying those funds? What kind of investments can we make? Not necessarily financial the way we did with the dividend fund, but rather where should we be putting resources that's going to benefit the community at large? And we moved away from the idea that let's just buy kit for everybody once a year. And we still do that periodically, but it's like, it shouldn't be kit. It should be stuff that's actually going to give us an exponential return on people, an exponential return on recruitment, an exponential return on learnings and development. Just how do we make it better to serve you as the referees and better serve you as the society? That's really just, that's it.
Steve Gore had a question. Steve?
I just wanted to offer my perspective on it. You know, like, yes, for a number of years, we have spent more money than we have earned. But my feeling is that a lot of that is less about losing money and more about investments that we're making or trying to make, whether that's radios or kit or solo shots or helicopter drones or, you know, those types of things. So I don't really see it as like we're losing money. I see it as that we're trying to make some investments there. And I also think that, like, with the amount of money we have in the bank, even if we were just losing money and it wasn't investments at the rate that we are, like, I'm not particularly concerned about it. I'm not at all concerned about it. I think we should probably be losing more money.
And I'm looking at the chat. We do have an additional expense, and that's the D&O insurance. So, and we got to pay that whether or not we're doing games.
Oh yeah, that's $550 a year. I didn't even think about that. Sorry.
Yeah. So.
And web hosting that are certain, you know, cost to be present. So.
Yep.
Dan, there's a question in the chat. Do we model out what our revenue would have been at a higher rate if 2020 was normal? Would we have been in the black if we had a normal slate of games?
We did a budget. Dan, I'll
not.
start it. Maybe you can go. I don't know if you have it. We actually did a budget for this year before all this stuff hit. In fact, we did a number of terms on the budget. So yeah, we had plans. And we established a budget for this year, both on the revenue and on the expense side. We did share that budget with Rocky Mountain Rugby to get a rate increase. So so they asked for that, and we did choose to share it. They also shared their budget with us. So.
Yeah, I was just chuckling at the number of unknowns to throw into that equation, but based on, yeah, like we said, based on what we were looking at last year, we were expecting to lose money if we didn't raise rates and to make a little bit of money if we did.
Yeah. And then we're also losing if we we were also planning if we needed to use some of the reserve to help with the scholarship and the exchanges, to look to increase the funding of those two specific line items, because we had cut that in recent years. So.
All right. Thanks. Any more questions about finances or operations?
Oh, thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to Rick, our Recruitment and Retention Officer, to give us an update of what is of one. And Rick, you still there somewhere?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, unfortunately, we're still in basically a holding pattern. It sounds like there's some movement on getting a new version of the L1 so we can start getting some more people when we get rugby again. So I guess stay tuned. I have a couple ideas for some Zoom socials, but other than that, as we were talking about, maybe it's just staying mentally and physically fit and ready for when it all starts up again.
Broom ball.
That's the opposite of retention.
Yeah, and Mark, I don't remember. Mark Nelson, do you have something to add to that, just with the LRO development stuff?
Yeah, they're looking at basically grades and coaching. The grades will be similar to what we are already active with the match level systems. I think they may add two other lower grades, so it'd be like 1 through 10. So if that does get a sanction, some of you will probably all downshift to 2 grades just to kind of equal everyone, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just a number. We don't have a coaching platform right now. A lot of LROs are wanting to continue to use Advantage, which is going through a massive overhaul, and to be a more of a basically kind of like a service, like what services do you want to use, and what, like each LRO or each geographic union or each entity can kind of pick whatever they want to use out of it. So that's a different kind of option instead of just like this kind of performance review with video. There's all kinds of different widgets you can install and plug and make it kind of fit however the executives of USA Rugby or executives of Rocky Mountain or whatever would feel it would benefit them. We don't have a price. There's not a price on that yet because it's still being developed, and basically RNL would need to kind of demand that from the person who runs Advantage Referee Review System and pay for that. So as far as like wanting an individual LRO to like subscribe to it, if the whole community of USA Rugby didn't want to do it, there's no pricing on it just yet because it's still not being finished developed. We did have a couple of our referees take part in one women's scrimmage, which was nice at Glendale. It was a close scrimmage. So sorry for those that didn't get to partake because they canceled it because a couple of players got COVID, but that was a nice little thing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to actually having some rugby and doing some development one of these days.
All right. Anything else, Mark or Rick? All right. We're ready to move on. So on to our proposal. We had one proposal submitted by the deadline, and actually none after the deadline either. So it was sent out to everyone. I'm reposting the actual question in the chat. What's that, Mark? You just muted out.
I have a poll for the elections and the ballots. So if you let me know what you want to do, we can launch it and everyone can vote on it, with the exception of people who are proxies and people who are doubled up on one account. Okay. So let me know what you want to do.
Thanks. What do I do to vote?
So I'm just going to. So
it'll be made
the question's
very
there.
Easily. No. So what do you want to do, Paul?
So what I want to do is share my screen to show the current copy of the Society Rules and Procedures.
Okay, and then I'll launch the poll.
Yeah, and is everyone seeing it? I can't. It's hard to tell with my screens here what's going on. I have two windows open.
Yeah, we see it, Paul.
Okay. So the question that was put out there is in the chat itself of what we'd like to do, and essentially, and that question reads: should we make the changes to the instances where the word the masculine chairman appears in our Society Rules and Procedures to just use the word chair? So chairperson is also neutral, but we would just to keep it the same, chair, and here instead of his, hers, we could use their, and that's what would be just changed to kind of update us with the with where we should be. So the questions out there.
I second that.
I'm assuming you read through it. Is there any other gender-specific language in there other than chairman?
There was not, but this vote would address that as well. If we come across something we didn't see.
Cool.
Any questions or move to vote? Okay, I'm gonna launch the poll. Everyone just click and vote. If you have proxies, just follow the directions.
Wait a minute. The poll I got was electing chairperson.
Wrong poll, Mark. Wrong poll.
Wrong poll. Wrong poll.
And apparently you've already
One job, Nelson.
There's a
Apparently,
knock on
I
Yeah,
So you gotta launch all of them. Okay. Well. Oh, there we go.
there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, you'd be commended to put the work to put this together. So don't let these guys give you shit.
Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna give Mark shit as much as please, I think.
Yeah. That is
Loads.
part of the fun. So is there why? Where did there it is? Do you want that proxy vote separately
gonna do
or private,
you could
or do
just-
you want it in the public thing?
Just send it to Paul.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, I've sent you 2 answers from myself and Lucy. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep, I've got those.
On the mobile version, you have to scroll down to hit submit. So it might not be obvious for everybody.
It says 0% people have voted. That's weird.
Zap, I wish that you had the photo that you had there was your Movember mustache from a couple years back.
Oh yeah.
It would truly challenge Muff for atrocious or Chuff for atrocious.
Chuff's got me though. I like.
Chuff's is like a real but just terrible mustache, where Zapper's was like
A
sevens.
reedy, thin, horrible, but terrible
Yeah.
mustache.
Yeah.
Does anyone? Sorry, guys. Does anyone still need time? No. I don't know if this worked or not because it still says 0% voted.
Okay, so I voted with the poll,
Everybody, make sure you hit submit.
and I've got some in the chat here too.
It goes away. It goes away if you have submitted your vote.
All right, well, I'm going to end it and see what happens. So this may have been a complete failure.
Hey.
There we go.
Did it?
87 plus 4.
Okay, that's weird. I don't see anything.
Yeah, we got the host is sharing poll results.
Okay.
87% yes, 9% no, 0 abstain, 4 yes with proxies, and 0% no with proxies.
Okay.
I don't know what I don't know if maybe the 4% split, but I guess it's we're in Georgia territory.
Okay, so moving on, I guess.
Moving on, I guess. Okay, I think I'm resharing the agenda here. All right, so there are 3 elected members of the executive committee, and then of course other appointees can be made. So as an example, Mark Huff has been the chair this past year, and I have been an appointed co-chair. So I discussed, but the 3 votes that actually matter are the 3 that you all elect when decisions are made for the overall organization. So Mark Huff has served us as both the co-chair and chair for this last year, and but is like to step away from that to do more coaching and other rugby things when they're available. So the name put forward so far is myself. It's kind of awkward to say my own name, but here's the poll. Looks like it's up. So
sorry,
that's okay. That's fine. So the three folks put up for these each positions, as you'll see, have been unopposed. There were no other nominations, and okay, so that's a yes in favor, or no you're not, or you abstain.
I just saw the one for the chairman.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out.
Are we supposed to be getting 3? Or are they all in one? or what?
So we look the 2 other ones just to continue the conversation here. So ops, Dan is again running for that, and is the executive committee's proposed name for that person for that, and Rick for recruitment and retention as well. So when those pop up, it will be a affirmation vote for those two guys.
Sorry, hold on. I've never ran a poll. I just created it. So now what do you see?
I see pictures of everybody.
I see you.
Nothing to say. Here we
There
go.
we go.
There we go.
We got, there's the second one for Dan.
Okay, I think I figured it out. Does anyone need more time? I'll give you till 45 seconds. It's a bit redundant, but whatever.
Joe, what's that dragon behind you?
It's his new girlfriend.
Now.
And there's recruitment and retention.
Hey, Sarah, how old's the pup?
She just turned 2. Yeah. This is Biscuit. Her sister's Gravy. And their older sister is Mashed Potato.
That's hilarious.
Well done.
And another 5 seconds on this one. There we go.
I never saw the results on Dan. I presume it was similar.
The one being presented right now, Mark, is on recruitment retention for Rick. Yes, in
Okay.
favor. Just since you don't seem to be able to see that. Yes.
Now do you see?
Yeah, now we got Dan.
Okay, you have to kind of individually click all these.
Yeah. It's because Rick's classy enough to abstain on himself, and I didn't have an option for abstain with proxies.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Well,
Okay.
do we need to see chair?
Oh, we already saw it, didn't we?
Okay, I don't know. I don't see what you guys see, so.
Yeah, so I don't think we saw a chair, did we, Paul?
I didn't see it on myself.
Yeah. Do you want to share that real quick, Mark? There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you all for your participation. That's awesome. So as Mark Hupp has said, he's not going anywhere. He's around to help us out, which is great. His institutional knowledge, of course, will be needed for us to continue and sort of carry on our journey here. Should COVID ever succeed, and we can get back to rugby. So, thank you all. Any other questions right now? Anything new?
I wanted to thank Mark for his service because he's leaving, and obviously Dan and Rick for their service and continuing on. But It's been a difficult year, and I think it's been well handled. Thank you.
Yep, of course, I echo that as well. Yeah, thanks to all of you.
I think we had a presentation on Whitner Fitness that someone was going to do. Joe, is that true?
I mean, we could just point the camera at me. I don't have any. I'm actually on my computer. I'm on my work computer right now, and certain things are going great at work. So if anybody saw that DIA shut down, that was me. You're welcome.
DIA was shut down?
Yeah, for about 30 minutes.
Oh, what for?
COVID.
DIA is in DEN? The
Yeah.
Denver Airport? Okay.
Denver International Airport.
COVID Joe.
Yeah.
What did COVID do to the airport?
It got there. It was and an FAA employee was sick, but that was from a couple of weeks. That was a couple of days ago. So anyways, my for winter fitness, it's going to be really simple. I'm going to send it out shortly. It's basically going to be implement a couch to 5K for everybody that hasn't been doing too much. And then it's going to be a series of challenges, everything from do 10 squats to I suggested every time that Paul talked, we did a wall sit, but that was that. So I'm going to have to, I'm going to send that out to everybody. It's going to be a 2-month-long challenge before we expect to get started. So yeah, if there's any questions, let me know. And I hope that everybody bought a tank. They look awesome.
I got mine. 16 of you did.
If you're in a
Mike
time,
Boyce. Mike Boyce,
I also
where's
bought
yours?
5.
So 11 of you bought one.
Everybody named Jim needs one.
I'm not Italian.
All right. So that concludes the programming for tonight, kids. But does anyone have any final thing to bring up or ask? Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Paul,
please.
would you mind if I just made a couple comments real quick?
I'd love you to, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thank everyone in the society for all your support over the years. I would especially want to thank the current members of the executive committee, Paul and Rick and Mark and Dan and Karen, who was on there for a while as well, for their help this year. This was not a year that any of us. This is normally where I hand out a bottle to each of the people on the executive committee. Obviously, I can't do that tonight, but we certainly will at the earliest opportunity. We'll thank you with some liquid thanks as well. I'm stepping away from a formal position on the executive committee, but I'm around. I've offered to help any transition or really anything that the committee needs. And I'll be out on the pitch and I'll be doing more coaching and hopefully a little bit of running out there as well. So I look forward to seeing everyone out on the pitch when we get back out there. So thank you again for all your support this year and really all the years that I've had the honor to serve on the executive.
Do we have, I don't have the bylaws or whatever they are in front of me. Do we have the position of a chairman emeritus as somebody who's on the exec or consulted by?
Well, we have a lot of positions that can be, any position can be named. And so we kind of have, we've talked about having chair elect as a way to make sure we have a continual, a replacement program in place. Chair emeritus is also another great idea to make sure we have that institutional knowledge behind. And then, the other things can be appointed. The way they're written is that the chair can appoint and create those positions as needed. So it's certainly, that's a grand idea, Jim. We should consider that.
Can we call it the Michael Corleone position? Every time I think I'm out.
Yeah, that's probably what it feels like there, isn't it, Mark? I did have sorry, Joe Zevin, did you have a question earlier that I saw in the chat as I was skipping through? I couldn't tell where it was to.
Yeah, I did, Paul. Thank you for getting back to me on that. In the spirit of the proposal that was just passed, and actually something that I should have done quite a while ago, I have updated and modernized the society history It'll be posted on the website over the course of the next few days. Thank you, Dan Hattrip. You know, just finally dragging my own ass into the 21st century, I guess. Some kinder, gentler language.
All right. Well, thanks for the history itself, Joe. That's, you know, that knowledge has been great to have around, and I think it's good to keep track of that. So thanks for updating that. That's great for everybody.
Thank you. And there are big gaping holes in, you know, we need more stories. We need more fun stuff that will fill it up and make for a more interesting read. So if you have good stuff, appropriate, of course, send it on to me, and I'll be able to write it up.
Right. And then just not necessarily in closing, but just want to add a comment here. There certainly is plenty of areas that our group could use some help with. You know, I think there's the positions that have been appointed but unfilled. There's webmaster, someone to manage our social media, keep our Facebook page updated. So when there are things that update, and there are from time to time, like this thing from Joe, for example, if folks are available to step up or serve on a committee, or you have something you're very interested in, helping with training referees, just love to hear from you all. And even those who aren't on the call, we definitely need everyone's help to keep this group going. It's an all volunteer organization, as everyone knows. And I think Rocky Mountain Rugby is really well respected across the country. My travels across the country have certainly, that's what stories I hear. And I think Mark and everyone else who's had a chance to travel, the Rocky Mountain has a really nice reputation around the country. And so it's all thanks to volunteers for years and years. So thank you for those of you who served in the past, and thank you in advance for those of you who are willing to serve in the future.
You're here.
All right. If there's nothing else, going once, going twice. All right. Third time, our meeting's adjourned. We have an AGM that took us Kevin, do you have something you're saying bye? Okay. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you, everyone.
Be safe.
Talk to you soon.
Wear a mask.
Thanks.
Stay safe.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Hey, buddy.